What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode. What a week. It's been such a week. I feel like I say that like every episode. Like, it has been a week, but it really honestly has been. So yeah, I was listening to our last episode trying to figure out where we were, and then I finally figured it out. So yeah, anyways, here we are. So we're on page 84 on the PDF. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but we are on the PDF, so it may not be page 84 on the actual book, because a lot of times the PDF and book pages are formatted differently. So we are on page 84 of the PDF. We are going to be finishing up chapter 9 and then see where we go from there. Okay, so chapter 9 ends on 97, and we're on 84, so I feel like that's, like, a good chunk of time to be reading, so, yeah. Also, happy March. Like, I feel like I should do that every month, like, happy March, happy April, happy May, just because, like, I feel like 2025 has just been going by so fast. Like, it may not feel that way, but honestly, like, I feel like January was, like, such, like, a long time ago, and now we're already in March, and it feels really weird to me. But yeah. Also, I have been having some different ideas of some books to be reading. One of them being better than the movies. I actually have, like, the actual, like, book, so I could definitely do that. And, that's probably, like, the only one that I haven't really read that I would feel comfortable reading. I also have Once Upon a Broken Heart and Ballad of Never After, which I think I've mentioned before. So, yeah, I don't really know what we're going to do after this book, because there's not a second book that goes with this. I don't even know when this book came out, but I feel like it's still relatively new. But yeah. I've also been really wanting to read The Cruel Prince, the PDF. I will gladly read you guys my TBR right now, because there's a lot on there that I feel like, as somebody who reads a lot of books, like, having, like, a TBR is just so common. Okay, so first up, we have Shatter Me, Once Upon a Broken Heart, The Cruel Prince, Divine Rivals, The Summer I Turned Pretty, Better Than the Movies, The Summer Broken Rules, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Powerless, The Do-Over, You Deserve Each Other, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Fourth Wing, The Inheritance Games, all three of them, and I Fell in Love with Hope. So, yeah. That's my TBR. And I've only read about 4 of stuff on my TBR, so, and I have a lot. I've bought Better Than the Movies, Once Upon a Broken Heart, and temporarily bought Divine Rivals, and I have bought Better Than the Movies, but I haven't really finished them. I like start books and then, like, don't finish them. It's so weird. But this one I am, like, fully committed into finishing. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm a yapper, so I yap all day, every day. But, yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Chapter 9, Part 2. I went through the motions, and when they did call me down to the office, like they did every day, I actually showed up and spoke the truth. I looked at Mrs. Bowen and said, "Can I be honest? This is devastating to my plans. I was counting on this for scholarship applications. Is there an alternate program that might have an opening?" I expected my daily rejection, but she tilted her head and pursed her lips instead. She started talking to Mr. Kessler about a program I was unaware of, and then she left the room to make a call. I asked Mr. Kessler, "Do you know this program?" He nodded. "I do. It's a very, very good and would look great on your application." "Do you think I have a shot?" A feeling that was something like hope bubbled up inside of me. He shrugged and gave me an encouraging dad smile. "Anything's possible." Mrs. Bowen came back then, but she hadn't been able to reach the person she'd hoped to speak with. She said she would do some checking and get back to me, and I could tell she meant it. When she was leaving, she apologized again. Only this time she added, "We will find a way to make this right, Emily. You have my word." timings were lining up in a way that had me optimistic about my February 15th chances. After class, I made the adult decision to not even go near the hallway exit parking lot where I'd repeatedly seen Josh step out with Macy. Hopefully the universe that was working for me so far that day would keep them from kissing, but at least this way I wouldn't have to see if they did. It'd be the whole tree falling in the forest thing. If I wasn't there to see it, did it ever really happen? I mean, yes, when I left myself picture them, my stomach did hurt and I felt like a fool, but I needed to put that out of my mind and nail my perfect day if I ever wanted to return to normal. I was meticulous with my attentions, doing my best to be extra nice to everyone and extra attentive in class. I even smiled when I passed Lauren, Lally, and Nicole in the hallway. When I got to chemistry, Nick was already at our table. I took a deep breath, nervous for some reason that I didn't choose to explore, and walked over to my spot. He glanced up when I set my bag on the floor and then said, "Hey," smiled. "It's you." I sat down and said, "It is me." My cheeks were hot as we exchanged some kind of, "Hey, I know you from this morning" look. His eyes trailed over my face before he said, "Thanks again for helping me this morning." I shrugged. "Thanks again for the ride." "Listen up," Mr. Bong was said as he walked into the classroom, his eyes on the phone in his hand as he walked over to his desk. "It's pop quiz time, so I need everyone who sits on the right side of their lab table to move to the seat directly behind them." Bong always made us switch seats for exams because he seemed to think we were cheating collusionists with our lab partners. Since I was on the right side, I grabbed my bag. "Wait." Nick picked up his phone from where it was resting on top of the table and said, "Give me your number and I'll text you." I felt my mouth drop open, and I tried being cold, but Nick was asking me for my phone number. What was happening? Nick Stark was asking for my number, and I kind of wanted to give it to him. I gave a half laugh, suddenly nervous, and said, Why would I do that exactly?" He just said, "You'll find out when I text you. Number, please." I told him, and he punched the numbers into his phone. My phone lit up. "Nick, guess who?" I smiled and moved to the seat at the other table before responding, "Me, my Shirley lab partner, Nick. He's a cool guy who gave you a ride to school." That made me smile. Me, that guy. "Nick, do you want to ride home?" I gasped, like literally gasped, because dear Lord, why was Nick Stark asking me out-ish? What was this? What was this day? Who was this boy? What was happening? Me, "I've got a ride, but thank you so much." When I pressed send, an unexpected feeling settled in my chest. It was something like regret, but I was on the verge of possibly escaping the 14th of February, and I couldn't risk it. I needed to perfect the rest of the day, and that included Valentine's Day with my boyfriend, Nick. So, if Betty doesn't start, you're unavailable for turnover duty? Why was I disappointed that I was unavailable for turnover duty? Me, "Unfortunately, yes, but I'm sure there are lots of strangers you could summon who can start your truck." Nick, "We aren't strangers, remember?" I glanced over at him, and he was looking directly at me with one eyebrow raised and a smirk on his lips. I felt a little lightheaded, and as I texted, "Oh, yes, that's right." Mr. Bong started handing out our quizzes, and we weren't able to talk or text for the rest of the hour, which was good. I needed to stay focused. The second I turned in my quiz, I left the room without even daring to glance in Nick's direction. I stayed happy and nice and positive through the rest of the day, and when I rushed to meet Josh at soccer after school, he turned to me, smiled with a huge grin. Thank God. He leaned forward and pressed his forehead against mine. It's Valentine's Day, and I haven't seen the Emmy of my heart yet. Where in God's name have you been hiding all day? I smiled up at him, but a tiny part of me was wondering if he'd kissed Macy. And if he hadn't, had he wanted to? Had they talked and flirted as they'd gone on the coffee run? He looked the same as always, but something inside me felt different from when I looked at him. I pushed that nonsense away and said, "Nowhere. Do you have time to open my present before mock trial?" He turned away from me and reached in his locker while saying, "Only if you have time to open mine." That made me tease. "I guess I can find a moment." The first package he gave me was a rectangular box, obviously chocolates. I ripped off the paper and smiled at him. "My favorite dinner. Thank you." "Of course," he said, covering his heart with both his hands. "Sweets for the sweet." "And from the sweet," I added, grinning because it was romantic and also the perfect words to be said on the perfect Valentine's Day. I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but it felt like I might just be getting it right. Now this is my sweet, he said, holding out a small square box. I exhaled on a laugh, caught up in his smile and the festivity of gifts. I pulled open the white gift box and nestled inside was a silver bracelet. I raised my eyes to his, and he was grinning expectantly. I was waiting for an explanation, but after 2 seconds of smiling blankly at him, I squealed, "Oh my gosh, Josh, I love it so much. Thank you." As he insisted on putting it on me, I said nothing, dreading the rash that would cover my skin within hours, because I told Josh an entire story last week about how silver made me break out. Yes, people sometimes forgot things, but it had been a long story that included a trip to the ER, and he'd commented on how if we'd been dating at that time, he would have smuggled in a pizza for me to eat. So now he was buying me silver? I pushed that down, though, for the sake of a perfect day, and watched him open the watch band. He loved it. I knew he would, and it made him wrap his arms around me and kiss me big on the lips. School hallway had been damned. When he pulled back and looked down at me, I grinned, cleared my throat. Then I took the deepest breath, looked at his brown eyes, and said, "I love," "Not yet." He held up a finger and said, "Not another word until you hear my poem." I closed my mouth, a little shaken. Had he known what I was about to say? He was giving me a huge smile, so I didn't think so. He read me the poem he'd written, saying that I fit into his poem like the perfect rhyme, and he wrapped me up in a big hug. It was beautiful, like all his poetry, and afterward I smiled through the hallways as I headed for Chris's car. Love is not what it is, but what it isn't. My ears aren't happy when she isn't speaking. My fingers bear fit when her skin is absent. I hadn't had a chance to say it, "I love you," but I was okay with that. He used the word love in his poem about me, so that was almost like he said it first, and I could still tell him that when he called me later that night. When I got outside and cold hit me in the face, I heard the horn before I saw Chris. The goofy, smart person was honking to the tune of "We Will Rock You," and I was crying from laughter by the time I reached his car. "Could you be any slower?" he yelled out the window. "I'm sure I could," I yelled back, laughing even harder when I reached for the door handle and it was locked. "Let me in." "Fine." He hit unlock on the door, but only because I need $10 for gas. Typical. I got in the car and closed the door and slammed it shut. And as I slammed it shut, I saw Nick start on one row over, messing with the truck's engine. I rolled down the window and yelled in his direction, "Do you need help?" His eyes raised from the motor of his car into my face as I was instantly warm. He was doing that sarcastic half-smile thing. Then he yelled, "No offense, but I'm a 16-year-old guy. Is it really safe for me to talk to strangers?" I laughed and yelled, "We're not strangers, Nick Stark." His half-smile went wide and whole. "That's right, we're partners." I laughed again, and I heard Chris make a noise. I ignored it and said, "Seriously, though, do you need help or a ride?" "What am I, your Uber now?" Chris muttered. "No, but thanks," Nick said. "She's actually running now, so I'm good." "Well, okay then." Why was I disappointed? "See you." He gave me a look that was suspended, frozen, before life went back into full speed. "Hey, hon." My dad came out of the kitchen with a dish towel over his shoulder. "How was school?" I smiled and set down my bag. I had already taken off Josh's bracelet on the ride home and shoved it in a deep pocket of my backpack so I wouldn't have to think about it. To my dad, I said, "Good. Hey, can I talk to you for a quick second? I have to stir my sauce, but sure." I followed him into the kitchen and climbed onto one of the counter stools. He was making spaghetti and meatballs, Grandma Max's recipe, and it smelled amazing. "What's up?" I reached out and grabbed an apple from the food bowl. Mom told me about promotion. A lie, of course, because I was getting ahead of this. "Christ, are you kidding me?" My dad's shoulders dropped as he looked pissed. I told her I wanted to talk to you first. "No, it's okay." I took a bite of the apple and said, "She misunderstood something," I said, "and I thought I already knew." "Oh." He closed his mouth and stirred his thoughts, looking deep in thought. My dad was one of those dads who maintained a younger vibe. Like he had all his hair and hadn't gotten soft yet. That being said, there were a few gray hairs in his temples that hinted at his true age. Yeah, so can I be honest here? I want you guys to be able to move to your dream town or whatever. I really do, but I said trying to get the courage to say it in the right way. I hate the thought of you moving away from me. Like, I love Mom, but home is when I'm with you. My voice cracked at the end, and everything inside me wanted to clarify that it was fine and he shouldn't worry about it, but I forced myself not to. I looked down at the red skin of my apple. Wow, I'm gonna be honest here, Em. I didn't expect this. I looked up in time to see him rub the back of his neck like he was uncomfortable. I guess I thought it wouldn't matter much to you. That you're moving across the country? I blinked fast because crying never helped anything. I still couldn't believe I'd melted down like a baby in front of Nick and Cam, even if he had no idea it had happened. How could it not matter? You're my dad. The boys are my brothers. This is my home. He stopped stirring. But you seem so happy with your mom. I guess I just assumed. You assumed. It felt bitter on my tongue, and there was so much more I could say, but I didn't want to mar the perfect day. I love Mom, but you are my home. He swallowed, and I saw his nostrils flare before he said, Oh, I'm so sorry. I shook my head and fought back tears. Don't be. You didn't know because I never said anything. I never wanted to rock that boat. And I don't want to keep you from moving. I don't know. I thought maybe we could find some options to make this work. He came around the counter and sat down on the stool beside me. He told me it had been killing him, the thought of not being able to see me every day, and he said Lisa and me, would sit down tomorrow and find a way to make it work. When I went up to my room that night, I was buzzing with happiness. I felt closer to my dad than I had in ages. I hadn't wrecked my car. A sober program was still a possibility, and Josh and I had the perfect Valentine's Day. I climbed into bed and thought about the silver bracelet. I mean, it was very pretty, and it looked expensive. Why was I making a big deal about him forgetting my allergy? My phone buzzed, and I reached for where it was charging on the nightstand. I thought it would be Josh, but it was Nick Stark. Nick, your chapstick's in my trunk. Truck. Not trunk. Truck. Me. What? Nick, I just got home, and when I grabbed my backpack, your chapstick was on the floor beneath it. He had been talking about my Burt's Bees, which I hadn't been able to find all day. Nick, I'll bring it to chemistry. I just want to let you know. Me, thanks. How'd you do on the quiz? Nick, aced it. Me, wow. Cocky. Nick, guilty. I've got a hella chem swagger. Me, you really are a cool guy. I know. Nick, I know. So did your BF give you Valentine's flowers? Me, candy and bracelet, actually. Nick, so are you wearing your jewels right now while jamming chocolate into your face hole? That made me laugh, and I texted, I left the candy in my friend's car, and the bracelet gave me a rash, so big no. Nick, holy crap, he got you a bracelet that turns your arm green? I sighed and started to text, but before I even really knew what I was doing, I found myself hitting the call button. Hello? The bracelet didn't turn my arm green. I'm allergic to silver. First of all, is that really a thing? He asked. And second, I bet he wishes you would have told him that a little teeny bit of personal info before he dropped a coin on your bubbles. It is a thing. I am allergic. I grabbed soda off the nightstand and said, and I did tell him. He must have just forgotten. Let me get this straight. His voice was deep and a little gravely, like he'd just woken up. You told Josh Sutton, arguably the most smartest kid at our school, that you're allergic to silver, and then he bought you a silver necklace for Valentine's Day. Bracelet. Whatever. He's clearly trying to kill you. I started laughing in spite of wanting to choke him for making me doubt Josh. He is not. Are you sure? I could hear the smile in his low, quiet voice. I mean, you can never be too careful. I've heard that. I cleared my throat and couldn't believe I was talking to Nick Stark on the phone. That I had called him. So where were you all night? Whoa, back off, creeper. Shut it, I said through another laugh. Were you working? I was. And where do you work? Should I be alarmed how interested you are in my comings and goings? Absolutely not. I remembered what he thought about small talk, so I said, I was just hoping you could get me a hefty discount at one of my favorite places. Bookstore, coffee shop, pizza delivery, any one of those would work for me. I like having connections. So, he sounded a little bit more awake. you'd like to use our acquaintance for your personal gain. Is that what you're saying? Precisely. I smiled into the quiet of my bedroom and said, although you needn't make it sound so mercenary. Mercenary, my bad, mercenary. Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I work at 402 Inc., a tattoo shop. He worked at a tattoo shop? Everyone knew he'd gotten tattoos last year as a sophomore, so that made him wildly edgy since the legal age without permission was 18. But to work there? That was some straight-up street cred. I'm not disappointed, I said, picturing the smirk that would curl his lips when I said, I'm planning on getting 2 massive sleeves next week, so this is perfect. Sure you are. You don't know. I think I do. I gave a nod in agreement, even though he couldn't see it. I asked, what do you do there? Everything that isn't a tattoo. Into phones, social media, website, cash register. I'm in there pretty much. Oh, I lay back on my pillow and pulled the covers over my shoulders. That sounds interesting, actually. You think? He said. He sounded like he was walking when he said, what about you? Job? I work at Hex Coffee. Really? Huh. I'm surprised I've never seen you in there. You go in there a lot? No, I actually hate coffee. That made me snort. Of course you do. I'm more of a tea guy. Lying again? I seriously drink 4 to 5 cups of sleepy time every day. You have to be lying. Swear to God. I tried picturing him drinking tea, and frankly, it was too adorable. He gave off strong Jess Mariano vibes when he talked about books, and the tea made it bigger. I said, I hate tea. You would? You aren't going to try to convince me that I'm wrong. Josh loved tea and was always trying to make me try his. Tea drinkers are usually pushers who swear by the fact that if you're trying to drink tea, that the way they drink it, you'll like it. Why would I care what you drink? I have no idea. Listen, I have to go. I didn't want you freaking out and losing your ever-loving crap over chapstick. I was about to, so your call is much appreciated. You seem the type. I know. He made a little laugh and sound and said, sorry about your terrible Valentine's Day presents, by the way. It's fine. That made me laugh again. Would you get your girlfriend? Girlfriend? Please, I don't have time for that. But if you did, I don't know why, but I really wanted to know. If I did, I don't know. Not chocolates or anaphylaxis, that's for sure. I laughed and said, come on, come here already. Fine. He gave me a growling sound and said, something that mattered to her, I guess. I mean, if she was a bookish person, like you, I'd try to find a special edition of her favorite book or something. Oh, I wasn't even going to let my mind go there, but the utter fantastical gift possibilities. But someone recently told me that I'm kind of a Shirley person, so gifts and Hallmark holidays kind of aren't my thing. I thought back to the morning at his truck and said, bummer on the Shirleyness, but the girl sure sounds cool. That made him fall into a charming horse laugh that trickled through my veins and tipped all the way down to the tips of my toes. Good night, Emily Hornby. Good night to you, Nick Stark. I just pressed and when a text came through. Josh, salutations, my sweet Valentine. I felt guilty as I responded me. Greetings, Josh. We're swamped, so I can't call until break, but I wanted to send you a quick hello in case you fell asleep. Me, right back at you. Winky face emoji. Josh, are you wearing your bracelet? Me, nope, in bed. Josh, I remember that you love shining things, and it reminded me of your smile. I didn't particularly like shining things. I wasn't a bling girl, and how would a silver chain bracelet remind him of my smile anyway? What my smile in 6th grade when I had a mouthful of braces and wore headgear when I slept? I could still hear Nick Stark, something that mattered to her. I texted, "Aw, heart, but the poem was the shiniest gift." Josh, sweetie, winky face emoji. Gotta run. Late Emmy cakes. Lates. I plunged my phone into the charger, turned off the light, and settled into my pillow. I really had a great Valentine's Day with Josh. Poetry and jewelry. What more could a girl ask for, really? It had been everything I wanted out of the day, even before falling into this abyss of repetitive days. The perfect boyfriend, checking off nearly all the romantic boxes I jotted down in my planner. So why didn't I feel more, I don't know, swoon, when I thought about him? The Macy thing, of course, but this was still something else. He written a poem about me, but somehow the thought of Nick Stark talking about what he'd buy for a hypothetical girlfriend was more sweepy off my feety than poetry. I quickly shut down the train of thought. I knew nothing about Nick Stark, other than what he liked to read, what he listened to, what he smelled like, where he worked, how his laugh sounded when he was sleepy over the phone, and he was probably the jerk I always thought him to be. Josh was perfect for me, and I was just tired. I didn't wish on a star that night. The day had been so close to perfect in such an organic way that I didn't need Galaxy's help. I got this, Milky Way. I fell asleep, not even noticing that I was talking to Nick on the phone. I had forgotten to say I love you to Josh. Alrighty, so that was the finishing of chapter 2. Not chapter 2. Gosh, chapter 9, part 2. Ooh. Guys, I am shipping Emily and Nick so much, and I think this is pretty obvious that he was thinking of Macy when he was giving, his gift to Emily, because Macy probably likes silver jewelry and shiny things, and Macy probably has like that big smile, so obviously I don't know why she's still with him after seeing him cheat on her, and for about 4 to 5 days of repetitiveness of him cheating on her with Macy. I really don't know why she's still with him. I really don't. But, I think that's it's her life. It's her book life, not mine. But, yeah. Also, the mention of Jess Mariano. Wow. So, Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter. Love her books. Literally idol. Wow. Wow. Okay. No, that's like top tier right there. Like 2 book boyfriends mentioned in 1 book. Wow. I think Nick gives Jess vibes a lot, to be honest. Which is why I am really rooting for Nick. But yeah. And Nick is so thoughtful, and he's so, caring with Emily, something that matters, not just, some silver jewelry, and not just something that's, not anything that's not, that, really special, I feel like he would pay, really good attention to detail, which I think Emily really needs. And I'm really glad that Emily got the closure with her dad about moving, because I knew that, that really did, that was really that was a heavy weight on her, so I'm really glad that she got through that. But like I mentioned before, she doesn't really get out of this loop until I think chapter 12. I'm not sure, and we're on chapter 10. And like I said before, the the title for Confession 10/chapter 10 is yet another godforsaken Valentine's Day. So yeah, we are going to be at 100 pages very soon. So I'm very happy about that. Also, there is swearing in this book. I try to make sure that I don't swear, but, there is swearing in the book. So, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, actually, chapter 10 is not that long. It ends on 102 and starts on 97. I'm pretty sure. Wait, guys, we could read chapter 10 right now. Low key? Okay, let's read chapter 10. That was a brief recap on chapter 9. Okay, let's read chapter 10. Confession 10. When I was 3, I used to chase Billy Tubbs down the block, and if I caught him, I tackled him to the ground and bit him all over his back. My dad said he cried every time he saw me. Yet another godforsaken Valentine's Day. My alarm went off, and I hurled my phone across the room. No! Walking on Sunshine kept playing after the phone hit the wall and landed somewhere in the dark. But instead of retrieving it, I just buried my face in my pillow and full-on screamed until I was out of breath. I was in hell. How could that day not have changed the course of events? I grabbed my robe and went into the bathroom to shower again. I started the water, stepped in, knowing what was coming, counted to 5, and then, are you almost done in there? Bingo. Lisa was going to press her mouth against the door jamb and tell me that my little brother needed to use the bathroom just like every other day, and I yelled, "I just got in here. Joel needs to go potty. Bad. There's a bathroom upstairs." I poured shampoo in my hand and rubbed it on my head. I knew what her answer was going to be, but it somehow seemed important to play the game. "Your dad's in there." This time I yelled, "Douse him with ice water and he'll jump right out." There was a pause before she murmured through the wood, "You're seriously not going to get out?" I thought about it for a second and came up with, "I don't think so. Sorry." Whoa. I rubbed my hair harder as one thought suddenly overtook all the others in my brain. I had immunity. Yes, being stuck in eternal Valentine's Day purgatory was the worst. But what I hadn't considered until now was I could do whatever I wanted and not face any of the fallout. I could absolutely use Nick Stark's words as my mantra for the day. Frick 'em. I took an extremely long shower in honor of the fact, and by the time I got out and dried myself, I had an epiphany. I could say whatever I wanted to anyone, and it would be erased the next day. I couldn't get grounded or suspended or even arrested because the next morning I'd be back in my bed at my dad's house, walking on freaking sunshine, and no one would remember my transgressions. Let the games begin. I got out of the shower and went straight to my planner. To-do list, February 14th. Day of no consequences, whatever I freaking feel like. Instead of rushing to free up the bathroom like I usually did, I dragged a stool in front of the vanity. I turned the volume on my phone and blared the new Volbeat album while I spent far too long making on-point eyeliner trails. I went full-on good makeup and straightened my hair so that I could put it in the perfect high ponytail. Not too shabby, Em. I looked at my reflection. Interesting. As it turned out, if you spent an entire hour on your appearance, you looked pretty good. I leaned forward and blotted my red lipstick against the mirror, leaving a perfect mouth print. Next, I went to the closet and dug, knowing exactly what I was going to wear to school. I had the cutest black leather pants, but I never had the guts to wear them to school because they were tight, with a capital TIGHT. And so, not me. Or at least the me everyone thought I was. But the pants made my butt look killer, so I was gonna wear the hell out of those bad boys. I wear them with the softest cashmere sweater and the suede boots I'd only worn once. And I hopped down the stairs with my backpack, humming in anticipation of what was destined to be a top 10 day. I heard my dad leave while I flat ironed my hair, so I was just with Lisa and the twins left at home. I walked into the kitchen and went straight for the last leftover slice of French silk pie. The twins were in their little kitty seats at the table, jamming pieces of pancakes into their pouty mouths and looking disgustingly adorable. I laughed as Logan pushed his sippy cup off the table and watched it land onto the floor. Little turd. Lisa picked it up and set it beside him. Her face was so tense, so I knew she was mad about my refusal to get out of the shower for Joel. But I didn't care. Not today. Normally I bent over backward for the perfect house guest. I made a huge effort all the time to make my dad and Lisa forget about how much tidier their new life would be if it were just the four of them. Today, however, screw it. Screw the guilt and the bending over. I grabbed a fork and ate the chocolate pie straight out of the tin, and when I was finished, I dumped it into the sink without even rinsing it. Hey, Lisa. I turned around and gave her the biggest smile. Does my dad still keep the keys to the Porsche in his workbench in the mudroom? Why? She crossed her arms over her chest and glanced at the pie pan and the sink, which, to be honest, was bothering me too. The dishwasher was right next to the sink. Why would anyone leave a dish in the sink? I forced myself to ignore the pan. I'm running late and need something with a little more kick than my car. On the day of no consequences, which I would henceforth refer to as DONC, a Porsche would serve me better than a van. Without bothering to wait for an answer, I ran into the mudroom and pulled out and opened the drawer. Sweet, he does. Now wait a minute. Did your father say you could take his car? He would never. He loved that car, adored it. Would tongue bath it if it was guaranteed to forever protect a shiny black paint. My dad had bought the creepy old Porsche from a junkyard when I was a kid and spent countless hours fixing it up with my Uncle Mick. It didn't look too cool, but it was fast and sleek, and also not an Astro van. Don't worry about it. You guys have a great day, okay? Emily, you're not taking that car. Do you hear me? I tilted my head and turned my lips downward. I hear you, hon, but I'm afraid I'm taking the car. Toodles! I left and closed the door behind me, half expecting her to chase me out into the driveway. Toodles? I giggled and realized what I had just done. And said, I hummed as I went into the unattached garage and got the Porsche before Lisa could stop me. That baby poured into life as I pushed the elevators up to the bridge of my nose and squealed out of the driveway faster than you could say, got it going. Wow. I stomped on the gas and flew down Harrison Street, hogging the road and stretching the legs and doing all these amazing car things that amazing cars were said to do in TV commercials. Translation, I hauled. Gone were the Valentine's days that started with crappy cars and car accidents. Gone were the Valentine's days that left me crying in the school bathroom. Gone were endless days of borrowing Nick Duck's old jacket, and gone were the days that felt important but obviously were not. This new and improved Valentine's Day was beginning with fast cars and Metallica on blast, and I dared the universe to dump on my parade. Not this time. I glanced into the mirror just as the cop turned behind me and flipped on his lights. My stomach clenched for a second until I remembered no consequences. Technically, I could lead him into a high-speed chase that would make it all over the national news channels if I wanted to, but that seemed like more trouble than I was interested in, especially since I wanted to get to school. I had a lot to do that day. I pulled over, got my license registration, rolled down my window. When the cops appeared, he looked grumpy. License and registration, please. I handed it to him and said, I know I was speeding, by the way, and I'm sorry. You were going 96 miles per hour in a 45 zone. Oops. I'm really sorry. You're going to need a lot more than an apology, young lady. I'll be right back. He went back to his car and turned up the radio a little. I started sing-songing it along to Black End and my not at all random music selection for the day of D-O-N-C. And then I amused myself by waving at every person who gawked at me when they drove by. Was this how it felt to be a rebel? Because I kind of liked the way this felt. I kept cackling to myself, giggling uncontrollably, when the thought about the wild fact that I had been pulled over in the car I stolen from my dad without permission for going 30 miles over the speed limit. Who even was I? I started to get nervous when it was taking so long, and especially when the tow truck showed up. But I had to remind myself that it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Whatever happened, I'd wake up tomorrow free and clear. The officer finally came back to my window. He handed me the registration and insurance card, but he kept my license. You're going to need a citation for reckless driving. You'll need to go to court for this because you are going so far above the posted limit. This is not a ticket you can pay without seeing a judge. Do you understand? I nodded and squinted into the sun that was shining behind his big head. Your car is being impounded because of the high rate of speed. Here is a pamphlet listing all the information about how long you'll be impounded for and how you can get it back at that time. My car is going to jail? Better than you, don't you think? Of course. Jail would totally mess up my plans for the day. Your license is also being revoked until your court day. At that time, the judge can make the decision on whether or not it's possible for you to get it back. Wow, you guys aren't playing out here today, are you? He took off his glasses and looked at me with his eyebrows all screwed together like he couldn't believe my nerve. Young lady, this is a big deal. I know, I was just joking, trying to lighten the mood. Do you have someone who can pick you up? Since my parents sucked at taking my calls and I wasn't in the mood for their buzzkill lectures anyways, I said, my parents are both in meetings this morning, so I know they can't answer their phones. I have a really important assignment due in first block that I would not want to miss. I don't want to miss either. Would there be any way that you can maybe drop me off at Hazelwood whenever you're done here? Alrighty, guys. So that's it. that's it. I realized that, like, I tend to, like, mix around words a lot. So if you're, like, reading this and I'm just, like, making up words or, like, not saying it in the proper way that you may have been reading it, then I really do apologize for that. Also, chapter 11, I just kind of did an overview. It's 20 pages. Starts on 102, ends on 122. So it is exactly 20 pages. So next time I'm thinking first 10 pages I'll do, and then I'll do the last 10. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Emily is really being a rebel. Quite literally, she really just does. I really wish I could, like, be that way, be, like, so confident, like, and not really care, and her attitude, like, is just so, like, I admire that attitude of just, like, not caring, do whatever you want, and, you know, no, I mean, like, obviously, like, you know, she doesn't have consequences, but everybody else would in real life, but, you know, I like her attitude in this chapter, I really do. And she's such a rebel, and I am here for it. I really am here for it, honestly. She has honestly gone through a lot, and I kind of feel bad that she's gone through that much. So I'm here for it. She deserves some, like, a little break to be whoever she wants to be. But, yeah. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. This was kind of long. It didn't really need to be. It didn't really have to be if I just realized chapter 10 was a small chapter, and I could have went from finishing up chapter 9 and then going straight into reading chapter 10. But then we just got a little pause recap that took about 5-10 minutes, and then went into chapter 10, and now we're doing a little pause recap. So yeah. Also, I think I forgot to post an episode because right now, currently, the time I am recording this, I didn't post my last episode that I thought I had posted. So yeah. So you guys are going to get maybe like a lot of, so currently, the last episode I posted was Chapter 8, Part 1, and I have Chapter 8, Part 2. Oh, no, the last episode I posted, is Chapter 8, Part 2, and I have Chapter 9, Part 1. So I really don't know why I didn't post that. I really don't know why I never posted Chapter 9, Part 1. And this is Chapter 9, Part 2, which is going to be posted the next week. But yeah, anyways, no, this will be posted. Okay, so I might post the Chapter 9, Part 1, this episode on the same day because I said Happy March, which wouldn't necessarily make sense. So I'm going to say Happy March. So we're going to be posting both on one day because why not? Because I feel like I kind of owe it to y'all, and I kind of have to. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope y'all have an amazing rest of your day. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing week. Have an amazing month. And overall, have an amazing year. Anyways, bye guys. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure to follow my Spotify audiobooks channel as well. Bye!